there's always in urban fantasy something of a connection to the everyday, but there's something especially mundane about the way that you are weaving in the Adam Binder series. You have common things like dragons and elves and tarot cards, but he's gluing a car engine together through force of will sometimes. That has an effect on the story that grounds it in a different way. And I think some of your character background choices interacting with the setting. What were you trying to do with that? Obviously, I think I may be leading the witness here, but
well, there's a couple of things. I think you kind of hit on it. I think for urban fantasy, one of the key things is that the magic is also in the mundane. If you look at Charlene Harris's Sookie Stackhouse novels, Sookie is always cleaning and she's always stressing out about money. These are two very important things about her. And what that does is it grounds her. It grounds her for the reader in the world. You understand Sookie because like she takes a job with the vampires. I think it's the third book. It might be the second. I read them a while ago, where she doesn't necessarily want the job, but she needs the money for new gravel for her driveway. And she starts thinking about, if I do this job, that'll be like $5,000. And then I can get the fancy gravel, the kind that locks together and doesn't scratch the car up as much, when you drive on it. And that's the kind of mentality that I grew up with. It's the kind of mentality that I really understood about Sookie right away, because I grew up with, we could eat that, but if we eat that, then we won't have food for 3 days. Whereas if we make a big pot of cheap spaghetti, that'll get us through 3 or 4 days. So my mom had to do those kind of calculations all the time, and I sort of learned to do them as well. I still eat like a poor person, even though I have a job in software, but like if you give me a pint of ice cream, it is generally gone, because there's a part of my brain that thinks, I'll never get another one again, right? This is the only time I'm ever going to have this treat, because it's like, no, you can go buy ice cream at a time, but my mind is still trained at that place from the trailer. And Adam has a lot of that. Money is always kind of on his mind. And that's contrasted with his brother, who has moved to Denver and is a doctor and has plenty of money. So he doesn't obsess about those little things the way Adam does, calculating, can I buy, like he would never buy a latte. He would only buy a cup of coffee because a latte is going to cost so much more. Even if it is better, he doesn't want to get used to them because he can't afford them. That's the kind of calculation he's always running. So the magic part of that is, I love that you picked up on the car, that he holds the car together through force of will, because I think we've all been there. If you've ever driven a beater, you've ever been that poor, you're constantly running this calculation of, and just hold together, please, for one more paycheck, or running out of gas because you just really can't afford to put gas in it. So you're hoping that the gas will just go a few more miles to get you to your shift so you can get some money from today's tips or whatever. So that's kind of where it all is. And it's obvious for me that Adam would see his magic through that sort of lens. And then the magic that he can do is also very tied to who he is mentally. So Adam he has certain mental health issues, which I also have. So I wove them into his character, and I wanted them to be kind of a strength for him. One of the things about him is he's really sensitive. So he's not super powerful, but if something is trying to hide behind an illusion, behind a glamour, Adam's likely to see it when more powerful magical beings can't, because he's so far under the radar. Things hiding there are visible to him. So he has a certain way of seeing the world. And that's kind of a common thing with my main characters. You'll see that with Rafe in Dark Moon, Shallow Sea. He can see in the dark. So having a different way of seeing the world is a very David Slayton kind of device. He said he'd be careful not to do it in my next project. Isaac in Rogue Community College does not, but he can smell. He's like a shark on land. He can smell blood and detect blood from, he's like a walking forensics laboratory. I think the magic needs to have grounding again, so that it makes it easier for the reader to kind of be able to see themselves in that place, as well as to be able to understand it.